Well, that wasn't the worst night I've spent on the porch of some facility on a small town, by far. Party quieted down fairly early. There were some dogs and other things, but nothing too bad. 6 a.m. The church doesn't open till 8, or the store doesn't open till 8, which has coffee, bathrooms, etc. But I decided to head back over to the church. Who knows when I'm going to have internet again after all. The internet here was so fast that I'd managed to upload all the videos I had pending in about 20 minutes the day before. So I spent a chilly hour or so waiting for the store to open, catching up on emails, and looking ahead on the trail. I wanted to finish topping off my phone and the church didn't have any plugs, so I had a little while at the store. They had a selection of freezer microwave items which made for a decent breakfast supplemented with some muffins and such. And that noise is the noise that played every single time anybody came in or out of the store. I heard it a lot. Okay, 40 ounces of coffee later. Time to get going, assuming I can get a hitch. The trick is I need to go 18 miles and there's not a lot of people headed out that way. Basically, the red house icon is Winston, where I'd spent the night. The blue question mark icon was the junction between the paved 59 and the dirt 52 road, which was far less traveled, and that yellow car up to the north was where I needed to get back on trail. Plus side, my hitch spot actually has shade, unlike when I was coming in, and that's the church with internet. I started trying to hitch at 10 o'clock, and I found that not so many cars were actually headed out that way. Fortunately, I had internet, so I spent some time catching up with my mother, and after an hour, I actually got picked up. So I was IT for 20 years. Okay, I'm halfway. TJ there is out here cutting firewood, and was willing to bring me at least this far. Oh. I only had to sit out there for about 45 minutes or so. Problem is, this part of the road is the difficult one. If I was back at the 59 junction where the CDT comes in, I could have got a ride the entire way. That's okay. Worst case, I just do a bonus 9 miles. Or maybe someone comes by. Maybe. That guy was really nice. He tried to give me one of his knives because he collects knives, but the thing was the size of my forearm. And my pack's already heavy. 7-ish days of food, plus water. I always love conversing with interested non-hikers because they often don't realize that long-distance trails like this exist. He'd never heard of the Grand Enchantment Trail. And you start talking about hiking 800 some miles, and they're just blown away. And I mean, at one point, that was me hearing about the PCT, and it led to me eventually doing the trail and then, going overboard in typical fashion. So Jen will roll her eyes sometimes, but I'm always going way above and beyond, talking to people, just in the hope that it does inspire somebody like that. Yeah. Winston wasn't completely ideal, but ended up being a decent stop. Community center was fine once things quieted down around 10. I had power. The internet was downright delicious. I think I got all 8 of my videos up in about 20 minutes. Went and downloaded the Netflix shows I wanted to watch, and then I'm like, oh, damn, I guess I don't need that much internet. It is always nice to have internet access, be able to catch up on what's going on in the world and, respond to messages and things like that. But I've become very used to living without, I guess, over the last couple of years. So I have a brand new pair of shoes, what I decidedly hope is about 7 days of food, full batteries, and supposedly the water carriers are going to get a little smaller. I almost brought that jug I was hauling around town drinking out of, but it doesn't look like I'm going to have anything too unreasonable up ahead, at least from what I could see. So Winston had a general store which had showers, laundry, and power plugs. Then they sent me across the street to the church, which had internet but no plugs. And then at the end of the day, I was asked to relocate to the community center, which had plugs. But if there was internet, I didn't have the password to it. So everything I needed, just not centrally located. The store had a reasonable amount of food. I had microwave pizzas for dinner, little microwave breakfast sandwiches for breakfast. coffee, sold a lot of hunting stuff. I mean, there were full on like assault rifles for sale, it looked like up front. But nice folks. Today is day 39 since I started the get. I'm hopeful I can finish around 59. That does depend on what else happens. Obviously, things like my Alma power outage zero, I can't really plan for. I honestly thought I might have to zero in Winston because at least one thing I read said the store wasn't open on Tuesday. And I knew I was going to have to supplement a little food. Packages get lost at the post office, you know. But that gives me a little fudge because I don't have to leave Colorado Springs until June 3rd. We're paddling on June 5th. So I'm just hoping to finish this early enough to have a couple of days visiting with my parents and healing up, because once we get on the Mississippi, we have more of a deadline. Jen has 10 weeks until she goes back to school, so we got to finish, otherwise I'm paddling the southern end all by my lonesome. The store did say they had seen a fair number of hikers. They said they see a lot more Grand Enchantment hikers than they do CDT hikers, because, you know, it seems like everybody does the Gila shortcut these days. Plus side, when and if I come through this section on the CDT at the end of the year, easier hitch into Winston because I'll be coming off the paved road instead of this road. And I already know the Wi-Fi password and all that. I remember when I was looking into the CDT and wanting to do the red line instead of the Gila, one of the big barriers was people talking about how difficult it was getting in and out of Winston. People are just wimps. Let the littlest things get in their way.
After I'd been walking for about a mile, a red pickup pulled up behind me, and a gentleman that owned one of the ranches out there gave me a ride the rest of the way out to the trail. And right as he dropped me off back at Alamosa Creek, I caught sight of Mustard and Sprout off in the distance. They had spent the night at Doc Campbell's, where I had left late in that afternoon, so I'd managed to get a little bit ahead of them. It was fun to catch up over the last section and complain about how sandy and rough going it was in Diamond Creek, and how much we enjoyed the CDT section.
Sprouts and Mustard just got to the road as I was coming back, so I was catching up with them. Apparently Snappers, a day behind. Veggie and Karma are ahead somewhere because they didn't have to go into town because they buried caches. So this is an area with sportsman access, so I can pass through. It's interesting. Attempt to meet and greet the landowner. This is one of 3 routes through this section. The first one was through Montecito Box, which the landowners have closed the road off with a whole bunch of no trespassing signs. Apparently it has gone to the New Mexico Supreme Court, who ruled that you are legally allowed to access waterways. So technically, you're within your legal rights to go through there as long as you're walking the riverbed. However, there are aggressive landowners in there, and the last thing I want to do is have somebody pull a gun on me again. So this is one of the 2 alternates that was proposed. Looks like I have reasonable water up ahead, so that's a relief at least. I don't want to have to carry more than I have to. My pack is heavy right now. This probably does win as far as hardest hitch of any of the trails I've done. Except for that section in Florida where nobody picks you up because of that. Also, interestingly, it has basically been sunny and warm or sunny and cold since I left the AZT. Beehive Well was the last time I had any sort of rain, I believe. It looks like there is a storm coming in this weekend. So it's currently Tuesday. The last weather report I saw said some sort of precipitation, potentially lightning, Saturday and Sunday. I generally don't get too worked up about that sort of thing because, you know, I'll be 60, 80 miles away by then probably. And maybe the storm hits there, maybe it doesn't. On a section like this, it'd actually be a relief if it was raining. That is what I want to see. I love me a solar well.
This one lacked any sort of direct access from the pump, but there was a control box with a valve I could open to get water.
I've been having pretty good days leaving town, usually, but kind of dragging here. Partially it's just the really big pack, and I'm having to carry water too. Unfortunately, I have the better part of 10 miles still to get to the only reliable water source I know about. Otherwise, I might be looking to just take a shorter day. Unfortunately, the next couple of water sources are reported to be dry. We're nearly there, so oh, man. Yeah, I'm a little worried about doing the miles I had planned. This is just slow going with the extra weight and hasn't been good trail for the most part.
After that one solar well, the earthen tanks were all dry, but I did come across a trailside trough, and after I followed some buried piping up, I was able to find a control valve which started filling the troughs with water from somewhere further uphill, probably.
It looks like it might have been off due to a broken float valve, and this one is leaking a little bit. But I was able to turn it on, get plenty of water, and turn it off, so I am good for the night. And anybody coming after me will see water. Well, that's a relief. I'm still going to go on because it's only around 6 o'clock, but it's nice knowing I don't have to hike several hours into the dark to reach a well, which will be turned off because it's a solar well.
If you're wondering why I have so many voiceovers, it's because the high wind was just playing havoc with my microphone on my phone. Unfortunately, while I did have stretches on dirt fire roads that went okay, a lot of this section involved jumping in between them by going down hillsides and coming back up the far side. I'm all for climbing hills normally, but the unstable footing and occasional bushwhacking was slowing me down significantly.
Yeah, this is just completely cross country. I've seen a couple of cow trails, but there's not so much as a duck back here. As much as I really want to get as much distance as I can, it's just inefficient tonight. With all the food and the water on my back, it'll be easier in the morning. And this cross country is just slow going. And my stomach's not overly happy. I ate a whole bunch of crappy frozen food, pizzas and little breakfast biscuits. Tend to be happier with backpacker food, it seems. Okay, only 12 miles today, which is a little disappointing, but considering I wasn't able to get hiking till noon due to that hitchhike, and I had to do some extra miles to get around private property on that alt is what it is. The only bummer is that's not exactly 12 miles of progress towards Socorro, but it's okay. Tomorrow's another day.